Welcome back to HeppSY, guys, episode 3. And today we have a lovely, glamorous guest with us, the lovely Pascha.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. Excited to be here.
Excited
Thanks
to have
for
our
coming.
first guest.
This is obviously the first time we've had a guest on this podcast. We're going to try, well, obviously we've been having themes as we've been going on and kind of drawing on our experience, but we've only got a certain amount of experience. We haven't experienced everything in higher education between us three. So there are things we actually don't know about or haven't experienced. So today we're talking about experiences of being LGBTQ plus at higher education, because obviously that's something that a lot of people might have questions on, might have thoughts on. So we thought we'd bring in someone who volunteered to be on the podcast to talk about this subject, just to give people an idea of what it's actually like, actual lived experience, so hopefully that people can get a bit of a better idea and maybe demystify it a bit and kind of make people feel a bit more at ease if they are going to university or higher education or are thinking about it and are LGBTQ plus. Hence why we have the lovely Pascha on today.
Yeah.
Your local queer.
Hell yeah.
Hell yes.
So, Pascha, maybe just introduce yourself, talk a bit about like where you went to uni and what course you studied.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm Pascha. I went to uni in Brighton, but I went to the University of Sussex. So it's a bit confusing for some people, but Brighton is in Sussex, the county. So there is Brighton University, there is Sussex University. I went to university to study international development because the Uni of Sussex is #1 in the world for international development.
Ooh.
They beat Harvard.
Really?
Very exciting.
Wow.
However, I did change course halfway through, so I can't actually use that little bit of like humble bragging there.
Oh no,
Because
use it.
I
use
didn't
it.
even graduate from international development in the end. I changed to liberal arts halfway through.
How would you sum up what international development and liberal arts are?
Okay, it's
To
a good
our
question.
listeners.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Thank you very much.
So international development is a lot to do with charity and NGO work. So it's looking at the development sector and the sort of pros and cons of it, because of course a lot of the development sector has backgrounds in colonialism, and unpicking that and sort of looking at these institutions like the United Nations that we might view as like really moral and really great, and
Yeah.
maybe talking about the corruption that's within them. So yeah, that was really interesting, and actually kind of part of the reason why I changed course was because when I was doing it I realised, oh actually when I came to university thinking I wanted to work for the UN, I'm in here now and I'm thinking maybe I don't. So I started doing liberal arts instead, which is basically a combination subject. So kind of like in America, you know how they can pick majors and minors?
Yeah. For all our American listeners,
For
you'll
our
know this
American
already.
listeners, we know you're out there.
Shout out to you.
Sorry, obviously, to all the listeners already know this.
But it's like you get to pick, so you kind of get to tailor your studies. So like I did some courses from art history, I did some modules from philosophy, I did some from English, I did some from international development, kept that kind of going throughout my degree. And so yeah, it was really great for me because I need a lot of different stuff to think about, because otherwise I get a bit bored. So liberal arts was a great thing.
What led you to choosing that? Was it something that you learned in school beforehand that made you want to go down that route, or was it
to go down international development route?
Yeah.
Actually, I went to a careers advisor when I was at college, and I sort of presented to her the fact that I didn't know what to take, and there was a lot of at my college at least pushing like core subjects like geography, history, and they were like, that's what employers want, and I went to her and I was like, okay, here's what I'm thinking. I kind of don't really know what I want to do, but I kind of want to do this, but I'm not really sure. And I said, have you heard of international development? And she was like, no, I don't know what that is. And I was like, you're the advisor, you're the uni advisor, and you don't know what this is? And she was like, no, I've never heard of that. And I also said, have you heard of liberal arts? Because that was the other thing I was thinking about. And she was like, no, I don't know what that is either.
Did they stop making
it was
stuff up?
actually really, it was, yeah, literally. She was
You
like,
just throw
okay.
words at me.
Yeah, crazy, because those are both like so common.
Yeah.
I feel like
I know.
international development especially.
I know. And this meeting with her made me realise, right, okay, if I'm going to figure this out, I've just got to do it on my own. Like, and I do think that's a big part of university, is that you sort of realise when you get there that it's like, okay, I'm kind of on my own here.
Yeah.
Like, the lecturers are helpful, but they're not going to be like, this is exactly what you need to do and how you need to do it. It's kind of like you just are like, okay, Just do it.
And
you're
it's
like,
a chance for you to like explore a subject that you're fascinated in and kind of like do what you want with it as well.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a kind of valuable lesson that I like to spread, that I started on a course and I changed and it was fine. It was fine. I didn't start from the beginning again. I transferred into second year. And so I was like straight in with new people that had all got to know each other over the last year, but it was totally fine. They were my friends by the end of it. And it's not like what you pick when you go to university doesn't have to be what you stay with. So if you're not sure and then you get there and you get talking to people and they're like, oh, I do this course. And you're like, oh, I didn't know that was an option. You can change courses. You're not going to have to drop out. It's not going to be a waste of money. You can literally make that switch.
Because I did want to kind of highlight that, because I do get, when we go into schools, obviously we've talked about it in previous episodes, but especially me, Tanya and Kaydian going to schools and talk about higher education, and a lot of the kids often don't have too much of an idea of it, and a lot of them say, well, how do you know what course you're going to do? You know, you're doing that for 3 years. What happens if you don't like it? And I do always like to highlight that, yes, not maybe in every single situation, but there is lots of opportunity to change. It's not set in stone. So
especially within the same kind of subject area. Like a lot of the liberal arts first year like courses and stuff were overlapping with what I'd done in international development anyway. So when I applied to switch, I was like, well, look, I've done like 7 of the modules that would have been on this course anyway. Like you know what I mean? Like I can, so like hypothetically, if you were maybe doing like biology and then you wanted to switch to like, I don't know, biochem or something, I'm sure that would be possible. It's just like, as long as you kind of know ish, you know, it might even be like you start doing social work and then you realise that actually you want to do psychology. Like those things tend to have a decent amount of crossover that they allow you to do it.
Yeah, and as long as you can demonstrate that your passion for the new subject and explain to them why you want to change, I think the biggest thing is they want you to do a degree that you're going to enjoy and be successful in. So as long as you can prove that, like, you know, you've kind of realised that you're passionate about something and you've changed and you're not just switching and trying to like try loads of different things, you'll absolutely be able to do it. And like it's very common, you know, before you go to university, if you do like anything that's not just like English, maths, you know, all the stuff you do in school, it's a completely new thing you've never studied before. So you might not necessarily know straight away that that's the right decision for you, and you might not make the right choice, but you're so right, you can always change, and universities have loads and loads of support for that. I think before you go, it's not advertised as much because they don't want to, you know, encourage people to just apply and then switch, but it is absolutely something you can do.
This also goes not just for like the subjects you choose, but at any point in your higher education journey, the things you start with aren't always necessarily going to stay like that. We talked about in our last episode finding friends, joining societies, and those things can always change. It's not like you get to your first year and if you get disappointed by your first year, that's not always how it's going to be. So it's really good to keep open-minded about when you're going to university. Just remember that it is your decision, and the decisions you make on the way can always change and adapt as you change as a person as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because you'll change a lot in those 3 years, as we've already talked about.
Yeah, 100%.
So Pascha, actually, also, if you could just give us an overview of kind of what your thoughts were of the University of Sussex as a uni and the university experience of kind of going there, if any of our listeners are thinking of picking
also
that
quickly,
university.
how far is Sussex University to Brighton, and how far was it the University of Brighton to Brighton? Like, are they really far from each other? Are they really close?
So central Brighton is like basically right next to the sea, if you can sort of imagine that. The University of Brighton has buildings all over the city because it's not a campus uni. So some of the buildings are super close to the centre and it's like genuinely a 2-minute walk. And some of them are a bit further out. But I'd say the furthest building out and their sort of accommodation from the University of Brighton is probably like 15 minutes on a bus. The University of Sussex is a campus uni, so it's in the Sussex Downs, so it's in the national park basically, which is really great, and was helpful in COVID times because it meant we had something to do. At least we could go out and stand around in the snow. But that's kind of one of the reasons I picked it, is because it was a campus uni, but it does mean that it's further out of Brighton. However, there is a train station that is basically on campus that is 15 minutes into the centre of Brighton, so it's fine. The bus takes a bit longer, but there's also a bus that goes straight into town, so it's fine. It's very accessible. And of course, you're only living on campus for the first year anyway, and after that, you do tend to kind of live either on the outskirts or in the centre of Brighton. But yeah, the University of Sussex itself, I really enjoyed going there. I picked it because it was a campus uni. All of my 5 choices were campus universities, just because I think it just felt like the real uni thing. Like, I think I had the American uni idea in my head. I'd been watching Gilmore Girls. Rory had been going to Yale. I was like, okay, I want to be on campus. I want to feel like I'm like embedded in that uni culture. That's what I want.
Maybe quickly explain what a campus uni is, just in case anyone doesn't know the definition.
So like a campus uni is where everything is in one place. So all of the lecture theatres, all of the seminar rooms, all of the accommodation generally, like some places have a little bit of accommodation off campus, but generally all the accommodation is there. So you'll have like a few shops and stuff like that. But sorry,
there's a weird sound in the podcast studio.
We're not all just questioning what Pascha's saying. Like, that's not what a campus uni is.
On campus, they usually have some shops and like little things that you'll need, but not like everything that you could possibly need. So like our campus had a co-op, but it was actually the second most expensive co-op in the UK.
Oh my
because
gosh.
They were really like taking advantage of the fact that if students are on campus and they need a late night snack, or you need breakfast or something, that you're gonna have to go to that co-op. You're not gonna trek.
I remember
into town.
this. I was in a campus uni and it was the exact same thing, where the one supermarket that was close, a brilliant business idea. But like a packet of bacon would be like a £5.
What do you know what was the most expensive co-op in the UK? Where it was this a list of co-ops?
But I mean, if you think about it, like think about all of when you go on the motorway and you stop at a service station and how expensive those service stations are. Obviously, some of those are co-ops, right? And the campus one was more expensive than those. It's unbelievable.
It's like airport prices.
It's airport. Yeah, exactly. It was really kind of outrageous. So then we'd often like have to make kind of a big trek to be like, I'm not going there.
Yeah, out of principle.
I'm not going to that co-op.
Have to make friends with someone that drives.
Yeah.
Did you drive at uni?
I did, but I only in my second years when I started. That's when I got a car. So my first year as well, living on campus, it was COVID. Didn't need a car. Yeah. Did not need a car. Wasn't going anywhere. We were trapped in that building.
Yay.
Would you say for Brighton you needed a car because you said it was quite accessible?
I wouldn't say you need a car. I think that if you've come from somewhere quite small though and you're not used to city living, it is kind of helpful to be able to have the access to get into countryside spaces, because that is something that is less accessible. Like, don't get me wrong, there are great train links and stuff like that, but they're kind of straight to London, which means that it's really easy to get from wherever you are to Brighton, because it's an hour from London, so it's easy peasy. But it is like, if you want to spend a bit of time in nature, you do have the downs, but if you get a bit bored of that because you've lived there for a year and you want to get out of Brighton and you feel a bit overwhelmed, it can be a bit difficult without a car. But if you're used to city living, a lot of people come from London and go to Brighton. You'll be absolutely fine. You'll think it's like small town living.
That is the countryside.
Whereas for me, I was like, whoa, the big city. I'm in the big smoke. And I was actually like, no, you're not. No, you're not.
Just a country girl moving to a city.
I know.
Yeah. And that is the thing, because obviously, everything's relative. So your experience of a place is probably going to be different maybe from someone else's. Like, I went from Sheffield to Newcastle, which were both kind of similar sized cities. So it felt pretty normal for me, but a lot of people in my flat and face had come from literally the middle of nowhere, down in Cornwall, down in Pembrokeshire, and they were like, oh my god, there's so many cars, there's so much noise.
What about UK?
Yeah, I think it was crazy. So I come from a small town, Stratford-upon-Avon, and I think I just didn't realise, obviously I'd been to cities quite a lot, so I knew what being in a city was like, but honestly it's just so freeing living somewhere where there's shops open overnight, past 4 p.m. Being able to do anything past 4 p.m. on a Sunday. Wow.
Having the option of an Uber.
Life-changing.
Yes.
Being able to Uber places, not being past 10 I'm done for. Or just places being open past 12 p.m. Or 12 a.m. I don't remember.
12 a.m. 12 p.m. would be, that would be wild if everything had shut by 12.
Yeah.
It's a ghost town.
Nothing's
open. It's crazy. You've got to be an early riser to live there. A lot of old people.
Alien town.
But yeah, it was like crazy coming to Sheffield, and I think like now I've lived in Sheffield for a bit, I'm much more like Sheffield just feels like a big town. I think a lot of people would say that it's like it's a really big city, but it's very spread out. Like the centre isn't super big and built up, and now I've spent more time in somewhere like Manchester or London, which are like big cities.
It's quite
I do
a
see it
rural
as
city,
smaller.
isn't it, Sheffield?
Yeah, well that's what I mean. It's a city, but it's also like slap bang
You've got the peaks
next to the Peak District, so it doesn't feel like a city. I think that's one thing that I didn't realise coming from like a bit of a countryside place or just a smaller town, how much I actually would miss like being in nature. Well, I didn't miss it, but imagining if I had gone anywhere other than Sheffield and I hadn't been able to just like go to a beautiful park or get on the bus to the Peak District, I think I actually would have found that really difficult and quite isolating, and I just didn't kind of know that about myself. I didn't realise how much I like self-soothed by going into nature and going on walks. And yeah, I think that's something definitely to consider when you're going to university. Like, you know, what are the things you enjoy doing? Even if, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say that walking counts as a hobby, but I did it every day.
Well, it depends. Like walking to the shops probably isn't a hobby, but going for a walk in the
listening
Peak.
to this podcast.
Yeah.
I can. The hate mail is coming in already.
For me, because I didn't live anywhere you could hike. It was just kind of like you could go on like
Stroll.
hour-long walks in like fields, and I did that all the time. But I wouldn't have necessarily called that. Whereas I think,
That's a hobby.
literally that's how I got places. I had to walk. Whereas like now, I think I'm in the peaks. Like people, hiking is a proper hobby and it's something people do. Whereas like it's just always been something that I did. Also, I have a dog, so like it was just always, you know, I got to walk my dog. So I never really thought of it as like something that I enjoyed, and I think I would have really struggled going somewhere where I could not do that. So and like you said, like being able to like escape from a city, it can be really hard. Like transport links in this country aren't amazing to the countryside. They're really good city to city, but if you want to go anywhere that's not a city, it is quite difficult to get there.
Yeah.
Did you ever go like on trips to London? Because obviously it's quite close to Brighton.
To be honest, not as much as I think you would expect.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you have this really like when you're picking your university and when you make that final decision and you get in, you have this like view of what your life's going to be like when you get there before you even go.
Yeah, everyone does that, don't they? One of my close friends from university, when she visited Brighton, she went to this pub and she was thinking, I'm going to be in here every night, and then we went like twice. She was like, oh, this wasn't what I was expecting at all. So actually, in terms of London trips, I think we did 2 total.
I always thought Brighton was like London with the sea.
It is kind of, but it is just so much smaller. And I think a lot of people from London kind of had that shock going to Brighton and being like, oh, people said that this was a city. Compared to London, it doesn't really feel like one.
Yeah, I've been to Brighton, and even for me, like someone who at that point had only lived in a small town, Brighton does not feel like a city at all. It feels like a relatively small seaside town.
Well, it's because Brighton isn't the city, it's Brighton and
Hove.
So you have to include both of them. But of course, if you're going to Brighton University, you're like, oh, I'm living in a city, but it's like, well, you're kind of not. In a weird way.
You're living in like a really cool town. I loved Brighton when I went. It was definitely great. But yeah, I think if I'd have moved there thinking it was a city, I would have been a bit like.
I mean, the population is huge though. Like every time I've been to Brighton, it's been packed.
Yeah,
there's a lot of tourists.
There's
a lot of tourists.
How was that? Like living amongst.
It was annoying, but it was kind of fun to have the like self-righteousness.
Yeah.
I'm the one that lives here. Like tourists would be around and you'd be like, tourists.
You were the local.
Yeah,
it's
feels
just
good.
like, oh
It feels
god,
good.
like. But also then you kind of know the places that they'd go, so you'd be like, I'm absolutely not going to the beach on a hot day. That is going to be a nightmare. We're going into the Downs and we're just going to chill in nature instead and have a nice time there instead. Or like we're going to go out to the little towns which have like a little pool and stuff like that.
Brighton Beach is a pebble beach. That's horrible to walk on.
Your feet are just. Let me tell you now, 100 swims in. Well, actually, I didn't make 100. I made, I think, 91. But my New Year's resolution, one of the years, was to do 100 swims in a year.
That's
and see.
amazing.
Love that.
But let me tell you, by the end of the year, those feet feel nothing.
I was about to say, like, honestly, we were walking. I think we went on the beach one day, the Brighton beach, and then we went to the sand beach the other time because honestly, like walking into the sea, it was so painful. I was literally just like, ow, ow.
Get yourself some water shoes.
Your soft little feet.
I was going to say,
my
those are
gentle
game
feet are not
changer.
ready.
Water shoes is where it's at.
So I mean, I'm not a sea pup like you guys.
I can't even swim.
I don't know, I was drowning.
Aberystwyth is also a pebble beach, and we invested in those
Pebble
boots.
What's wrong with sand? Like, what are we doing?
nature.
Massacres.
Rock, Mother Nature. What's wrong with sand?
Hey, this
Come
is nice.
on.
Let me just walk on the rock.
Sand is messier though.
So
Harder
true.
to clean.
So
Yeah,
true.
that is true.
And you know, you get used to the pebbles, they're not that bad.
I'm right there with you, Tanya.
Yeah,
I agree.
thanks, Pash.
You're welcome. We got that connection, the Pebble Beach.
We do.
You know what? None of the top 10 beaches in the world are pebble beaches. They're all sand beaches.
All
I'm
right,
going to leave it
maybe.
there.
What about in the UK? Top 10 beaches
Well,
in the UK. But
UK
Brighton Beach
beach-
is on there.
You know what the best one is? Llangennith in Wales.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow, nice
Big up
pronunciation, by the way.
Wales.
Yeah, sorry guys. Shout out. My
Um,
mum's actually Welsh.
I was about to really try and move it on then. I was like, oh, actually, good debate.
Yeah, guys, comment below. Do you prefer Pebble Beach or Sand Beach?
You know what? I would recommend a beach uni to anyone. Like, genuinely, I don't know about you, but like social, it was during like the year of COVID, socials and going out was going to the beach, which is so fun. Like, I just remember like really connecting with friends through the sea. And like,
Aw.
especially
Nice.
like no offense, Yara, but especially female friends. Like, there's just something that draws like women in the sea together.
100%.
Yeah,
And-
the moon.
Oh, it was just like
I'm not offended. That's kind of beautiful.
We're gonna
I'm like, oh.
Women, the moon.
Women, the
Yeah.
moon, the
Honestly,
sea.
I made my
no.
closest.
Yeah, like, I can stay out of that. Like,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah,
not my...
no,
I
can
literally made my
imagine.
closest friends through the sea. Like, it sounds so like I don't know, like
nice.
spiritual, but like we organise like wellness swims, and every Sunday like we'd get up early. Like the first thing we do is have a swim, go get hot chocolate, and like just talk about life. And it was like the best thing ever.
Aw.
That's
Wait,
so
now I want to
sweet.
go
Yeah.
to a beach.
Actually,
uni.
maybe I do want to be involved.
Garrett and the girls at the beach.
Guys did start coming along though, so
And ruined it.
Yeah. Men
it
did
was awful.
inevitably start invading women's spaces.
So, obviously the reason why we brought you on the podcast, Pascha, apart from your massive fame and social media following,
Huge.
is to talk about our topic of the day, which
Yes.
is being LGBTQ plus at university. So, yeah, if you could just kind of give us a bit of an overview of your kind of experience of that at the University of Sussex and just kind of in university in general.
Yeah, so I'm just going to give you some background on being LGBTQ. So I realised I was bi probably when I was 12, but I didn't come out to anyone until I was 16, and I had my like first kind of kiss with a girl, you know, and then I was like, oh. And I told my closest friends when I was about 17, and I told my parents when I was 18. So it was a long process, and it was all very dramatic. And looking back now, that I, especially after going to university in Brighton, I'm like, why did I make that into such a big deal? But it really is one when you're experiencing it. I try not to like belittle that for myself in the past, if you know what I mean. So when I was picking my universities, I guess you're 17 when you're picking universities?
Yeah.
When you're
17,
putting in UCAS
maybe
applications?
17
18.
upwards.
17?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And so even though I hadn't really come out to anybody, I was still looking at universities based on like the values that they held in terms of like how they treat people who are LGBT, because I was like, look, it's gonna come out eventually. Like I'm gonna, you know what I mean, and I want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And I do think that that's something that's really important to think about when picking a university. I think when you're at college, there's a lot of like, what about if it's a Russell group, and like where's the best one for your course, and like blah 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 blah, and it's a lot of like, who's going to be the best educator, and that is important, but also something that's really important in terms of like how well you're going to be able to make friends and meet like-minded people is the place that you're going. And so for me,
100%.
a lot of people said to me, because of the way that I dress and the way that I am, they were like, I think you really like Brighton. And I was like, okay,
That means you're
gonna
cool.
be.
That's like a compliment if
Yeah.
somebody says that
Yeah,
to you.
I think it
Yeah.
also means that you're quite liberal.
Yeah.
People are
Yeah.
looking at you being like, okay.
I mean, they have the like world's like the UK's biggest pride
Exactly.
event of the
Yeah.
year. So
Quickly, how was Brighton Pride for someone who lived in Pride? Was it lived in Pride?
Lived-
in
I
Brighton.
lived in Pride. I
You
lived
did
in
live
Pride.
Yes.
Was it because it's such a big thing? Was it almost like too big a thing? Or, I've heard
No,
that.
it's
It's like
actually really
carnival.
awesome. It's like, yeah, it's just like a carnival. It's really fun. I had friends in the last year like who were on the floats as well, so then we got to go and cheer for them, and I was like,
so fun.
you know what I mean, like you're like in the crowd being like,
Yeah.
look, it's me.
Aw.
And so that's really fun. But I think it is almost like one of those things where Brighton Pride is so huge that it's almost like New Year's, you know, when it's like overhyped, and then you get to the day and you're like, this is a really important day. This is a really important day. And
This
it's
is
like,
going to be the best
what
day
am
of my
what am I
year.
going to wear?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Where are we going to go after? What's the plan? Who's going to be there? But yeah, sorry, back to my point, which is that picking a university based on the values of the place is also really important, in my opinion. And I think that sometimes goes overlooked because people are too focused on, like,
Academia.
okay, like I got an A star, so that means that I can go to this place, even if it doesn't fit my values. And I think that something that I was thinking about when I was thinking about coming on this podcast was talking about the fact that with, you know, when you see those videos on like TikTok or whatever, and it'll be like kind of people that go to these unis, kind of people that go to those unis, they are kind of accurate.
Yeah.
And
Or
it's
if you can like speak to people, if you know someone who has been to the uni you're thinking of going to, that's why it can be really great to speak to people to get, because obviously ambassadors and things like that, they're gonna have to follow the official line, and they're not gonna tell you it's crazy here, like you're not,
like everyone's mental.
everyone, like they're not going to say that, but like if you, and obviously not everyone has that choice, but like if you do know someone who has been there, it can be a really good opportunity.
And I do think that's also something really important to recognise, is the fact that not everybody has the like facilities to be able to pick from any university in the UK. Like, it is a massive privilege that I was able to move from Yorkshire to Brighton, because considering that that's going to be like a big transport cost, obviously each time that I want to go home, but also in my own like mental health, feeling confident enough to move 6 hours away, and you know, like as like a 19-year-old, and be like, okay, I can do this, I can manage being away.
That's a very brave thing to do.
It is, but that doesn't mean that like if you don't want to do that, that you're not brave. Do you know what I mean?
100%. Just know yourself. I think that's what's important, and that's what's important when it comes to culture of a uni as well. If you kind of know yourself and what you're comfortable with, you can make a better decision, because realistically, you are living in this place for 3 years. The academia is important, but you need to like have a good time and like the place that you live and the kind of like culture that you've put yourself in. And I think that you're so right in like that is kind of never enters the conversation, or at least it didn't for me when talking about universities. I never kind of thought about what the uni was like. It was more like, okay, well, you want to do politics, where's the best place to do politics? And like I did think about like, you know, money and stuff, but I never really considered the culture side.
I think all I considered was the culture.
I think I'm more like Tanya. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, I think because I went to I knew I liked a smaller like place, and I knew I liked the countryside and the sea. So that was kind of all I was looking at, and I was kind of trying to find people who were really like-minded. So I thought instead of choosing something that reflected my grades, I chose somewhere that I thought I could get a glimpse of home with. And then when it came to me going to Edinburgh after that, it was so isolating coming from Aberystwyth to Edinburgh. And I had a very like, I don't know if you know the reference, but a Connell Waldron normal people experience, where I went to this Russell Group university and just felt completely like alone. Like,
that's really hard.
It was really hard. So I'm glad I picked for the 3 years. I went with my culture. But also, I mean, you had a really good experience.
Yeah,
picking.
I think that I was very lucky, though. I think that I kind of, even though I didn't go for the culture, I think that once I'd went and looked around universities, that's what it came down to. Because for me, I looked at like Manchester, Leeds, Sheffield and Cardiff, and I can't remember where else. And one thing I did feel about, like, I went to Manchester, and like that was the one, I think Manchester and Leeds both had the higher grades. But I walked around and I was just like, I don't, like, for me, I just don't feel like this is the space for me. Like, it just doesn't feel like a place I could fit in. And I think that's what I did think was really important. I think I wish I'd considered a bit more university cultures, but I just got really lucky in that Sheffield is absolutely a bit of me. The culture is exactly what I would have wanted. But yeah, I wish it is some kind of, I stumbled onto Sheffield just by the fact that like my partner's brother said like, oh, you should check out Sheffield. The politics here is really good. And I think like, I'm so glad, because I just don't think I would have had as good a time in Leeds or Manchester, just because I think that's just not really very me.
Yeah, I think I think you've highlighted a really good point there, which is that it's okay to make a decision based on a feeling.
Yeah.
Like everyone is very like hard
Yeah.
into the logic of like where are you going, how far away is it, why, blah 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 blah. But it's like it's okay for you to go somewhere that on paper seems perfect for you and that you really want to go, and then to get there and be like, this doesn't feel right for me, and then you go somewhere else and you're like, this feels
right.
better. Like you're allowed to go with your
Got
feelings.
my poor grandmother to drive all the way to Manchester, and immediately I was like, I literally, I think we just
Within
walked
5
up.
minutes.
Genuinely within 5 minutes, I was just like, no, I don't really like it here. I was like, I don't know.
My
I just
mum
don't really
didn't.
feel like this is for me.
When I put Aberystwyth as my first choice, my mum didn't talk to me for a week
Oh, that's
because
crazy.
she said that is way too far. You're gonna
Oh.
you're gonna regret that. Like you're not gonna have home. And something in my gut was just telling me not to listen to her.
Trust your gut.
that
You know
gut.
you
Yeah.
know
Well
yourself better than anybody else, especially when you're like 17, 18 and you're probably, you know, still a bit angsty. Like you genuinely know yourself better than anybody else at that point. You know what's right for you. I honestly think don't be scared about moving really far away from home. I was only about 2.5, 3 hours away from home. But unless you like, for me, I didn't have a car. So like I'm not going home a lot because that means I'm having to get a bus to the train station and then get like 2 trains to even get home, and like it just becomes
expensive
such
as well.
I feel like it's so expensive. I had no money. I couldn't afford to come home. So I only ever went home at like Christmas and like over the summer a bit anyway. And I was close to home. So I honestly don't think it makes that much of a difference. Plus, if your parents, you know, they probably come and drive because they'll miss you maybe more than you'll miss them.
exactly,
100%.
Yeah.
You're out enjoying.
Don't worry.
rushes.
They're only trying to convince you
worry
to
about-
not move 6 hours away because they don't want to do the drive.
Yeah.
So Pascha, we've talked about obviously you kind of picking Brighton and University of Sussex because people had said and you felt it was going to be kind of a more kind of inclusive university for LGBTQ plus people. How is that actually in reality? Like, how does that come across when you're there?
I think that it is a very safe space for LGBT people and for you to be able to really like go through some crazy self-expression as in terms of like even what you wear and stuff like that, which I do think is wrapped up in LGBTQ identity, is like kind of experimenting with different clothes, like being like, this is who I am, this is what I look like. So I went through a massive phase where I was completely head to toe pink, as in I'm talking pink hair, all pink clothes,
Wow.
as in people used to stop me in the street and be like, pink, and I got known for being like a strawberry girl, and it still follows me now. Kind of hate it, but I kind of love.
kind of iconic.
That was the, I know.
Pascha's wearing a beautiful red
Yeah.
top today
I know,
for all
it
of
still
our
continues.
audio listeners.
Pink Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Pascha
This
had
is
a
the
pink
thing.
Christmas tree.
But it's
That's
so
iconic.
great. I feel like Brighton is one of the only places in the world where I could walk down the street being like that. And I mean properly, like I was drawing strawberries onto my clothes, right? And there was no judgment. No,
I love that.
people liked it. Whereas actually, like, if I did that, you know, at home I live in Huddersfield, and like if I was walking around Huddersfield Centre like that, people would literally be like, "What is she having a mental
would start
breakdown?
following
Is
you."
she okay?" So yeah, it was really great in terms of like exploring that. I think I was kind of surprised when I first arrived because there was still like some like low-key homophobia, which I really hadn't expected, because obviously again I'd picked going to Sussex, Brighton, because I was like, yes, it's really LGBT friendly, it's gonna be great, everyone's gonna be gay. And on my first night I was talking to 2 boys, you know, just trying to get to know everybody who was in my accommodation, and they said something like, they made a joke about one of the guys being like 25% gay or something. I think he had said that, like he had said like, oh, like maybe I'm bi, like I think I'm like 25%, like kind of gave it a rating, like you know, it's just talking about that, that's totally fine, say what you like. And then they kind of were like taking the mick out of him, and I was like, this is really weird for me. And I thought to myself, and I'm really glad that I did this, because it was just me and those 2 who were like sort of laughing and like trying to get me to laugh along. But I had kind of made the executive decision that I was like, look, I'm going down to Brighton. The first thing that I need people to know about me is that I'm bi, because I can't wait for people to find out and then maybe like not want to be friends with me or feel weird about it. So that's got to be what I go in with, right?
Yeah.
And so I sat there and I was like, oh, I'm bisexual. And they were like, oh. dead silence. And I was literally like,
Blank stare.
I was like, okay, that was a bit strange. But the LGBT population in Brighton is massive.
Yeah.
You'd think going to university in Brighton, you wouldn't dive in first night with homophobic
I know,
comments.
I was really like,
or be shocked.
actually. But it did definitely pan out that it was great being gay in Brighton. You almost felt like you had a bit of a superpower. I know it's really crazy, but like when I used to walk down with my ex-girlfriend, when I used to walk down the street holding her hand, I'd be like, we are so cool.
We are,
like,
we are Brighton.
Everybody's like, oh my god, like we came to like, because you think like people coming to Brighton, they know that it's the gay capital in the UK, so like they're kind of being like, oh my god, it really is, and you're like walking down,
look at
like,
them.
you feel like a
People asking for
celebrity.
pictures. Like,
Like,
Wow.
oh my god.
yeah, try and take a picture with the gay
Gay women in their natural environment.
yeah, literally. And something that was really funny was that in my second year, so when we moved out of our first year accommodation into a house, I lived with 5 girls, all of whom were either gay or bisexual. My parents could not wrap their head around the fact that we weren't together. They were like, wait, so you all are attracted to women. There's 5 women who are all also attracted to women. You're all best friends. And you're not together. And I was literally like,
How?
I don't know how to explain this to you. And then my mum would always be like, but Zoe's really nice. Are you sure you're not? And I'd literally be like, Mum, I promise, like, we're just best friends.
It's like the equivalent of like, you know, one gay person and immediately like I know another gay person, they'll be perfect.
Yeah, literally.
You're just their type, a man.
Yeah, literally. And so that was really funny, but it was nice to see them sort of navigate that. And I am lucky to have parents that were accepting of LGBTQ identities.
My sister actually lived in Brighton and she's gay, and she was just like, it was the best place to live, because she just felt not only really accepted, but she felt so proud to like what you said,
is, pride.
She was like,
pride,
it's the first time I could walk somewhere and feel like I can show off my girlfriend. Like, it was amazing. And I'm just like,
being like the majority. I don't know if it is the
like
majority, but feel like you're actually in the majority and in the norm. I think that makes such a difference of like you being with your partner isn't this like crazy thing, but it's actually just like normal and fine, and nobody cares.
Yeah, there's
and
no
also not only that, it's
glances.
celebrated, isn't it?
Kind of embarrassing being straight in Brighton. Is that
No, honestly, like,
a bit of an it.
on the inverse, like there was this thing that then when if I had a male partner, that I felt like I couldn't say I was bisexual anymore, and that people wouldn't believe me, because it's like, well, okay, but you're with a boy. And so even though like the LGBT community is really open as a community and really like welcoming, there is a bit of that kind of thing where it's like, you're not gay enough. And it's already hard being bisexual, because you kind of wrestle with your identity a lot, because there have genuinely been times in my life where it's like, no, I'm actually a lesbian. There's no way I'm not attracted to men. And then there has been other times in my life where I've been like, wait, no, I'm straight. What am I talking about? And all in all, that means I'm bisexual. That's how I know, right?
You like both.
Yeah, but it is one of those things where it's like there's a lot of differences in terms of what people think is like acceptable terms for you to call yourself. So for example, like, can I call myself a gay woman because I'm bi, I'm not a lesbian? And for some people that would be like, no, don't say that, and so that's fine. So it's like kind of coming to terms with different terminology and what that means, because of course if you're with a woman then you're in a gay couple, so can you call yourself a gay woman when you're bisexual? And it's just a bit difficult, because it does kind of, especially being somewhere where a lot of people are gay, there is sometimes a bit of like a hierarchy of the gays, where it's like, who is the most gay? Like, who deserves this title the most? Who has the right to like almost like talk
Oppression
about,
Olympics.
Yeah, literally
kind
oppression
of.
Olympics. Like, who has the right to sort of talk about their experiences of being LGBT the most? Like, who has that like upper hand? And it was just interesting, because even now it's like, because I have a boyfriend now, I feel a bit lapsed in my bisexual identity, but there have been times in my life where I've been like, this is so much part of me, like I need to express it, and I need everyone to know now so that they get it in their head straight away. It's just interesting. Yeah.
Do you know what's really interesting about that? Like, that's kind of just given me like, the only way I can relate to this, and this might sound a bit crazy,
I think I know what you're going to say.
is
I was
being
thinking
mixed
the same
race.
thing. Yeah,
it's which us three are all mixed race, but like,
for you listeners out there,
it's kind of that thing of like, you have you don't really fit in with one identity. You come from like 2 different cultures, and it's like, are you more than one than the other? And you do like, it's this massive underrepresentation because you're not one or the other. You're like
both.
coming from 2 things.
I think I definitely, especially because like for me, often people don't like notice that straight away or know that straight away. So it's
Garrett
something.
looks very Latino.
I do. ¿Cómo estás?
Sí.
But I'm actually half Ethiopian, and people would never ever guess that. So it's like kind of going in almost with what you're saying is like when you go into situations, and it's like sometimes wanting to let people know kind of straight away, like almost you were talking about kind of when you letting people know that you were lesbian straight away, kind of in the only way that I can relate to that, and that kind of obviously what Tanya's saying as well is do like wanting to make that clear to people almost as well, so that people, you know, if people are going to start making comments or saying things in the future, like they already know, so in exactly the same way,
but to preemptively shut it down.
Exactly.
It resonated with me when you said, oh, you're not, when you were talking about like not seeming gay enough. It's like, oh, you're not white enough, or you're not Asian enough. Like it's just
I think it's really difficult when you're stuck between 2 identities, and also you know, like sexuality is such a spectrum, and I think that it's, you know, obviously because of the society we live in, people find labels really useful, but I do think it can also be quite isolating when you're kind of feeling like, you know, this is just how I feel. I'm attracted to who I'm attracted to. And then you're kind of told that whatever label you use about that is wrong. It can be quite confusing because it's like, well, this is just how I feel. I can't change how I feel. And everyone telling you, oh, you can't call yourself gay because you don't like women enough, or and you have a boyfriend, but you can't call yourself straight because you're attracted to women. And it's like, well, it's kind of like you're caught between a rock and a hard place. And I think there is so much overlap between that and being like mixed race, like we all are. And I think like I've had a bit of a different experience being mixed race because I think I do look quite black, and like nobody's ever thought that I was white. And also I grew up in a predominantly white space, so I was the only black person. And it's like, then coming to uni and being around like a load of people who are more black than me and being like, oh, this is the first time that I've had like my blackness questioned because I was the only black person where I came from. I was literally, might as well have been 50 Cent. Like I was, you know, like bearing in mind, obviously, this is how I sound, and I am not at all like that. But it is like, it's just so interesting and confusing when you're stuck between like 2 parts of who you are.
I think as well, I'd like to speak to the fact that, and I know I'm talking a lot about bisexuality, but obviously like that is my lived experience, so I can't speak on behalf of the whole LGBT community. And there are certainly problems that are like more severe for other members of the community, which is why it is important to recognise like when it's like your time to speak and when it's time to let other people like have their voices heard. Like especially I'm thinking about the trans community, and like again, it's not the oppression Olympics, but the oppression experienced by the trans community, even in Brighton, is still bad. And like then me comparing that to being like, oh, when I'm walking down the street with my girlfriend, I feel like a superhero. Like that is, you know what I mean? There's a big disparity.
But those 2 experiences can coexist.
Yeah,
like,
of course. But I was gonna say something about being bi as well. Is that there's a lot of, or at least I perceive there to be a lot of stereotypes around, especially by women, and it being an attention-seeking strategy. And so I also felt like I couldn't say I was bi if I was with a man, because I thought that people would think that I was doing it for the sort of like clout in a weird way, and that I'd have to back it up with the fact of like, and I still felt like that even today. I was thinking, right, well, I need to make it obvious that I've actually had a girlfriend. Like I need to make that known so that people really believe me that I'm bi, and I'm not just saying that I'm bi. And there is this really big like culture of like, yeah, okay, she says she's bi, but like, is she? And it's interesting because before that I used to refer to myself as pansexual, because I was like, look, I don't really care, like I'm just not really bothered about like someone's gender identity. I just either like you or I don't like you. And then I said this one time in Brighton, and I said, oh, I'm pansexual, and someone said, oh, actually, like that's a problematic term. And I was like, wait, what? And the thing is that if you move to Brighton, like you're already a person who is like really, really wary of like saying the wrong thing and saying the right thing, because you think that's really important. It's important that people use the right terminology, and it's important that people are progressing with the times. And so if a term goes out of use because it's not acceptable anymore, then you hop straight on that. You're like, okay, yeah, why wouldn't I? Like, it's just a word. Like, I'm not saying that anymore. Fine. And it was really confusing because I was like, oh, I'm pansexual, and someone was like, actually, that's a difficult term because you're I'm going to try and explain how they explained it to me, which is that by being pansexual and saying like I'm attracted to anybody regardless of gender, you're denying that bisexual people are attracted to trans people because of the fact that then you're saying like, oh, these people are trans, they're not cisgender, and therefore you're not really a woman or something like that, which of course was not what I was implying by saying
I've been in this debate before.
And I found it really like, okay, sorry, like, but also I feel pansexual because I'm not saying like, oh, you know, I'm attracted to everyone, including trans people, unlike bi people. I was just saying I literally don't care. Like, you could be like
non-binary.
you could be really femme appearing and then like have a masculine identity. I literally don't care. That was kind of the point of what I was trying to say. But being in that environment of Brighton where everybody's like knows what's happening, like everyone's very up on things,
very locked into the like discourse surrounding
100%.
labels.
But it must be such a hard thing with your identity to then be like, well, what can I call myself? Because that's just, you know, you say one thing and then the first thing you get for calling yourself one thing is like shame thrown at you, which is just
from like all sides.
But even in saying that, I feel kind of bad because I'm like, oh well, like this isn't really a problem, do you know? And I know that it is, and I'm not trying to invalidate myself, but what I mean is like, I understand that from people in the queer community who are gay, lesbians, transgender, it's like, to them it's like bisexual people have the opportunity to blend in with straight people, and that's a privilege because it means that when I'm walking around with my boyfriend at the moment, nobody does stare at me, we don't get any comments, nothing gets said about that. And so that there is that sort of element of like, you do have like a little bit of extra privilege in a weird way, because if you are with a man, then like no one's going to know you're bi unless you feel safe enough to say it. Whereas if you're a lesbian, you don't have that like
safety
time
net
in your life where you can kind of hide it unless you choose not to, you know.
You might never feel 100% comfortable just being in a public space with your partner because maybe you don't live in Brighton, you live somewhere where it's just like not necessarily as okay. Not that Brighton's the only place. We're near Hebden Bridge, which is the lesbian capital of England,
big time. And as well, I think that it's important to recognise that universities themselves are very liberal places, and therefore because they're quite progressive, because they're full of young people who are generally more progressive, it means that universities do tend to be more safe spaces for LGBT people than other spaces and like work environments and stuff like that. I was just going to say, obviously not every university is as like LGBT friendly as the other ones, but the universities have to make an effort to make sure that they are being inclusive and that the support systems are in place. And I would say that at every university in the UK there is going to be a group for LGBT people, or at least there are going to be a lot of LGBT people, whether you like notice it or not. You might think your uni's really straight, but it definitely isn't. Like, university is a liberal place and often like a place for experimentation, and that's great.
And that's literally the question I was going to bring up next, was actually literally kind of what you're talking about, because we've talked obviously about Brighton and Hove, apparently, I didn't know that. Brighton and Hove as such a liberal kind of accepting place, but in terms of the actual university, the University of Sussex, do you think that was particularly kind of had provisions in place, was more particularly liberal in terms of the way it was set out itself, or do you think it was more of kind of the city and the university just was within the city, within that kind of environment?
I think it's kind of the self-fulfilling prophecy thing again, where it's like, you've got a university in Brighton, people are coming to Brighton because they feel like it's a safe space for them to be gay, to be part of the LGBT community, to be queer, and so then obviously the University of Sussex has to like go with that, because it also means that you're going to have more queer lecturers, like a lot of the staff are going to be queer, and a lot of the staff kind of, you know how if you go to a university then sometimes you end up working at that university, and that's really awesome, but again it means like you're going to have more queer staff coming in. And so I think that at the Uni of Sussex I definitely felt safe to be part of the LGBT community. I think especially part of that was like being kind of in what felt like a majority, especially like not even necessarily in Brighton, but as part of the uni students in Brighton, it did literally feel like we are the majority. Like we're here, we're queer. But it was interesting, like feeling part of some LGBT communities and like not part of others. Like there's like a lot of people in Brighton who really want to express how like the fact that they're part of the LGBT community, and that's amazing. But I sometimes would feel a bit scared by that, and I'd be like, whoa, like better. I think especially coming from like Huddersfield and a small village in Huddersfield, it's like I would always be like, are you sure? Like, are we okay to do that? Like,
this is definitely safe.
Like, wait, is that not just something that we just do on Pride? Like wait, we can do that all the time? Are you sure? Like, is there not something bad going to happen? So
we
that
don't
was
need a permit for this.
So that was really interesting, but also like my excitement about being like, oh my gosh, like I'm bisexual, and then loads of people having come from London, so like totally were used to people being gay, being like so
okay,
like, why is this a big deal? And I was like, this is a huge deal. Like,
So,
oh my gosh.
What A-levels did you do?
Like,
But honestly, I think that's important. Like, don't feel bad if it is a big deal for you when you go to university. Like, don't let anyone who's maybe had like a different opportunity of like being somewhere more accepting make you feel bad for like finally being excited to be able to express yourself, because it is a really big deal. Being able to finally feel safe and like talk about your identity, like that matters, and don't let anyone make you feel ashamed of that, because I feel like especially in first year of university there's definitely a bit of like a like we're so cool, you shouldn't like don't make a big deal out of it. It's just like cool.
And you're gonna find that with many things as well,
Yeah.
not just that like it will be, you know, everything's a first
Going
experience for
out,
someone.
yeah.
Moving away for the first time. Just remember that it's your experience, and those celebrations that you face, or even difficulties that you face, are yours, and don't let anyone diminish that.
100%. So, Pascha, do you want to talk a bit about what dating was like as a queer person in university, and then also like at Brighton and Sussex specifically?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was interesting, like openly dating as a queer person, because that was certainly never something I'd ever done before. So that was really like kind of scary a little bit, because you have this thing of like, okay, most people in Brighton are gay. Is she gay? You know what I mean? Like this kind of thing where like you're in a place, you're like, okay, I want to go over to that person. If they're not gay, are they going to be weirded out by the fact that I'm asking them out? And if they are, that's a great success, but you also just don't know, like they could be in a relationship. I mean, it's the same with normal
like,
dating. which
yes,
you
they're
don't-
gay, but they don't want to go out.
Yeah, exactly. So like there's like so many things to think about, which is like really confusing. But I have to say that dating apps were great in terms of like that kind of thing, like being able to see like, oh, look how many people there are. But at the same time, I wouldn't say that they were that successful. Anyone else think the dating apps suck?
I think the dating apps.
I met my girlfriend on a dating app.
Boo. I was about to say I hate dating apps.
I genuinely
I thought you were going to
think
say you hate
they're-
me and my girlfriend.
No, that too.
I think they're so dangerous. I can't lie. Like, obviously, great.
No,
success
I
story,
kind of hate them as well.
But yeah, like I think
actually do,
genuinely, I think for anyone going to university, I think be very mindful of them. I have a lot of friends who have just had horrible experiences, and I think that trying to create like a profile, almost like a CV of your best qualities to attract a partner, like that's not normal. That's not how people meet each other. You're not just going to be attracted to somebody's best traits. And I just feel like be very mindful of trying to find connections that way. I think they can be a great way to, you know, meet people starting off, but I think also it can kind of gamify connection and like other human beings, and I think that can be really, really quite dangerous.
Here. Sorry, Yared.
Yeah.
No,
Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, it's
You and your girlfriend have to break up.
yeah.
It's great when it works.
Yeah.
It's great when it
No, I also agree that I didn't have it for super long, but just like the way you can tell that they're purposely messing with your brain chemistry, because the dopamine hit
100%,
from getting like a
100%.
match is unhealthy. That's wild. Like it's like getting a like on Instagram times 1,000, because it's like this notification means someone thinks I'm attractive, thinks I'm cool, likes my vibe, or someone who I find attractive in the same way, and also wants to date. Like that dopamine hit is
the ultimate validation.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I want to date you. It's like, great.
It's quite addictive, like that dopamine hit. Use mindfully, like you know, they can be fun. Like lots of people use
Kaydian's anti-dating apps.
I'm really anti-dating apps. I just genuinely
I've
so
had some
bad.
great dates though from dating apps.
Oh, well, that's good.
I've had
Yay.
some really
I
good
think
times.
it's a great way to get yourself out there as well. Like if you're, let's say you've gone through a breakup, or that might be a great, if you're like queer and you're newly like exploring that area,
100%.
that might be a great way to kind of,
It's
you know,
nice to
not
see you have a community.
Yeah, to be like, okay, people do exist who are like attracted to me, and you know, to get some practice in, I think they can be great. I just think generally,
especially if you don't go to a uni like Brighton and you're LGBT, to be able to be like, okay, I kind of feel like I'm the only gay person, and maybe you aren't interested in the societies that they might have or something like that, and you just, or maybe you just want a way of sort of seeing that there are people like you without actually having to go and interact with anybody, and just to be able to be like, okay, like let me just put my preferences on a dating app as like bisexual, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm all right. I'm not on my own. There are people that feel the same way that I feel. There are people that would sort of like back me up, and you know what I mean? It's just, it's nice to have that. But yeah, I would say that like dating in Brighton specifically, because of the fact that everybody is LGBT, obviously not everybody's LGBT, but you know what I'm saying. It's kind of easier in some way, harder than another, because it feels like everywhere you go, anyone and everyone could be like someone that you're attracted to, and vice versa. So it's like, whoa, everyone on the planet all of a sudden is available to me.
I actually can relate to this as a vegetarian. when I actually quite like not having many options.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
when it's a vegetarian restaurant, suddenly massively overwhelmed.
The paradox of choice, guys. If you've got too much choice, it's harder to choose. I understand. But like, yeah, it is just sort of a minefield of like, okay, like the different identities, different gender identities, different sexualities. Like some people like people being asexual, people being oh God, I've forgotten the word for it now. In open relationships and stuff like that. That was something that I had never ever come across before. Like something that I'd like never even thought about. Like it just wasn't on my radar, on my agenda at all. And it was something that I really was like at first when people were like, "Oh, I'm in an open relationship." I was like, "What? What are you talking about?
What do you mean?
I don't understand what that means."
Cheating.
But by the end, it was so like normal. You know what I mean? It was very much like, "Oh, okay, right. This is like kind of part of this same sort of LGBT community thing. Like it's kind of part of the same thing somehow." And so it was really interesting just to like really not know when you start like just literally conversing with a person in the street. Like maybe, you know, you're thinking about going on a date with them or something, but to be like, I have genuinely got no idea like what your gender identity is, what your like sexual orientation is, whether you're in a relationship and it's an open relationship and that's why you're speaking to me, whether like it was just like whether you're asexual and actually you're not interested in me at all, you're just speaking to me because, you know, it was really like a minefield. And I think I got quite lucky when I met my now ex-girlfriend, because we were in a gay club, but in Brighton all the clubs are gay clubs. So it's like there is no such thing as, because I think people come down to Brighton and they're like, well, where are the gay clubs, like where's the gay village? And it's like, you don't need a gay village. This is the gay city. Like this is everywhere's gay. So there was one gay club called Revenge, which was super fun. They always had drag performances. Like every night there's a drag performance, and it was really cool. Oh my God, so good. Yeah. Love it. And I like, you know, I was in there and I saw a girl and I thought, oh my gosh, she's so pretty. Like, oh my God. And I was like, I don't know whether to do something about this or not. Like, do I say something? Do I not say anything? And eventually, like we're in year 7, one of my friends, what did they do? Pushed me into her. I was like, great.
Classic.
This makes me look like I'm a 12-year-old. Like I can't initiate my own conversations. Which
Sorry, how else are you meant to go up to someone? I don't.
You have to get your friend to shove you into them.
This is very similar to how me and my boyfriend got together.
Is it?
Yeah.
There we go. Don't go on dating apps. Just
just
fall into
go to
someone
a
you're
club.
attracted to.
I remember my friend was like, my like Welsh friend trying to do a Welsh accent. Tanya really fancies you to this guy that I didn't actually really fancy, which was my boyfriend.
Tanya's
let him hear
current
this
boyfriend.
But
Getting a puppy with him.
Yes,
very
and it
soon.
works out well.
And so it's fine.
But, yeah.
But yeah, and then like it's interesting that sort of first interaction having to be like, so I'm attracted to women. Are you attracted to women? Which is not something you have to do if you're straight, really. You kind of, because most people are straight, you've kind of got that guarantee of like, you're probably straight too. Like you are attracted to me. It might just be that you're in a relationship or that you might not be interested. That's fine. But it's like weird to have this first sort of thing of being like, she was like, why are you looking at me? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just think you're really pretty. And then it's like, well, does she think
that's
I'm
the
just
politest.
giving you no. I was like, does she just think I'm giving you a compliment like a friend? You know what I mean? Because I say that because girls as well, we're so supportive. Like, my friends walk into the room looking awesome and I'm like, oh my God, marry me. But obviously I'm joking. But
this is why I love just being a female. You
Oh,
can
it's
go
so
to
great.
a bar. You can go like the toilet chats in clubs or pubs or anywhere, to be fair. You go in and you can make like best friends just by telling someone that they look pretty.
100%.
It must be a minefield though, because I feel like, when you're having a conversation, it's like, oh, you're so beautiful, and it's like, well,
And she's like, oh, I think you're really pretty too, and I'm like,
in what way?
How so?
But
do you want to kiss?
Yeah, it's like, but would you like to smooch? And so it was really like we were kind of just stood there like for a long time, and I was being like,
pretty.
So.
But yeah, it worked out well. So that's good. But yeah, it's just it's funny because then I think for a lot of straight people, especially like the older generation, it's like how could I be living in a house with 5 gay women and them be coming downstairs and me being like, you're so gorgeous, oh my gosh, you look amazing, but I'm saying that in a completely neutral way, but then I'm saying the exact same terms to another person, but this time I mean it differently. It's like, how are you meant to navigate
that? Yeah,
That
wow.
is
Is it
actually really
tonally?
hard.
Is there like a slight shift in tone maybe?
I think it's maybe a look.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going like, oh my god, you're amazing. I'm being like, oh, you're really pretty.
Yeah.
And it's like more like nervous. I think you have to convey the nerves so that they know that you know.
Yeah, you're not just gonna go up and be like, oh my gosh, you look so beautiful.
Yeah,
like that's friend.
Yeah.
That's
like,
a friend.
oh my gosh, you look beautiful.
You actually do.
Oh,
like,
wow,
yeah.
so
You look
you're,
really gorgeous
like,
tonight.
Oh, like you have really beautiful eyes.
Oh.
And it's like, oh, it's crazy. But yeah,
Feeling some way.
yeah,
bit of
Good
shoulder
thing
action
you're sat
in
over
there.
there, Tanya.
but yeah, I would
Guys,
say
I think you both fancy.
Watch out, Will.
I was surprised, like, and I do think it's the emergence of dating apps, how little there was like real kind of social interaction. Like I was like, okay, well, it's Brighton, so everyone's gonna be gay, which means that I'm gonna meet loads of gay people. They're gonna hit on me. I'm gonna hit on them. It's gonna be great. You know what I mean? I'm gonna meet loads of people. I'm gonna go on loads of dates. That never happened. Like genuinely, the only time that happened, either which way, was with that girl that I just spoke about with my ex-girlfriend. It just didn't happen otherwise, and it's hard not to internalize that. Why is no one asking me out?
Am I ugly?
I do think it's the dating app thing. I
guess
Facts.
with the dating apps though, it's a safe space where you don't have to then ask for someone's sexuality because it's already on there. So that is the good thing about it.
That is a good thing.
But it's also
a real
like
advantage.
I feel like it's taken for granted for like straight people that like that it is a privilege not having to ask for someone's most of the time for someone's like
Yeah, and also if you did as a straight person hit on a gay person, I think it would be very like you wouldn't feel the same like, oh, I'm sorry, as if you were like, you know, a gay person hitting on a straight person. I feel like you'd be more worried.
Especially because of the prejudice. It's
yeah,
like,
that's what I mean. Like
throughout my life, especially before coming out, there was a lot of conversations from my female straight old friends, you know, not friends anymore, of things like, oh, did you hear that person's gay? Like, do you think they've been looking at me? Like, I've had a sleepover with her. Like, oh my God, why didn't she tell me? I feel so lied to. Like, she's gay. Like, and all of this. And then I would sit there being like, oh my God. Like, when they find out, they're going to think I'm a freak. I've had a sleepover with you as well. Like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And so that kind of is carried with you then when you're speaking to people and trying to convey to them that like you might be interested, but in a gay way, as in like you're not talking to a straight person, you're talking to a gay person. Well, you're hoping that they're gay. It's like if they tell me now that they're straight, like are they going to think that I'm like, this is a really strong word, but a pervert? Because that is the kind of feeling that that certainly was in my school as well, was that like nobody in my school was gay. Turns out they were, obviously. Now they are.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was very shameful. It was very weird. It was very like...
It's crazy because it's not that long ago as well.
No,
like,
it's
how
not that
times
long
are
ago.
changing.
Yeah, and so you really do carry that.
Internalized kind of
Baggage.
guilt and shame almost.
Yeah, like this weird feeling that you are like, and I know again I'm using the word perv, but like that's what it feels like. It feels like no, you're weird. Like you're weird. Why have you been like what you've been looking at people that didn't want you to? And it's like, wait, no, I haven't. Like what? But it's this kind of thing that's like carried with you. And also I know that there's a big idea like that. Like bi people are just greedy and that they're just like going with everyone just because they can and they want to and like they're not blah 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 blah. And so that also gets carried with you. It's a lot of like baggage that you take into just one conversation with a girl. Like you're like, okay, right, don't come across like a weirdo. Don't come across like you're like, you know, like sexualizing them or anything like that.
That's so heartbreaking.
Don't make them feel
as
uncomfortable.
Well. Like I'm trying to imagine plucking up the courage to say to someone that I find them attractive, and then for them to take it like platonically. Like that is actually kind of like that must be really hard.
Yeah, platonically with a side of I think you're weird. You know what I mean? Like I think you're a freak for asking me. Like, you know, don't talk to me kind of thing. But yeah, being gay is great. I swear, it is.
And I think that might be a good place to sign it off.
A good message to end on.
I don't think we could end on a better message than that. Thank you so much, Pascha. That's been incredible. Just being so open is like we really appreciate that. I think that's incredible, really brave, and it's going to really help whoever, if anyone is listening to this and have some of the same questions, the same conundrums that you were kind of having at their age. I just know this is going to be something that's going to be so helpful and beneficial to them. So yeah, thank you so much, Pascha.
Do you have any last words of advice to somebody who's considering university as like an LGBTQ+ person?
Believe the vibe. Like you go there, you feel the vibe, believe it. People talk about the vibe, believe it. Like trust your instincts. If the vibe feels off, the vibe is off. Don't go.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else.
I want a t-shirt with believe the vibe.
Believe the vibe.
Coming to our merch store soon, actually.
Coming to HeppSY's merch store, so we can use the marketing budget for.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for listening. Hope this has been helpful. And
Hepp steps, Hepp steps, Hepp steps, Hepp steps.
Woo! Steps.
All right.
Yay!
We'll see you soon with another guest.
Bye.